Call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Councilman McDaniel.
Present.
Councilman Horn.
Present.
Councilman Colt.
Here.
Councilman Cooper.
Here.
Councilwoman Gregory.
Present.
Councilwoman Cruz.
Here.
Mayor Moore Wolf.
Present.
7 present, none absent.
Please stand and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. We do have a proclamation tonight. If I could ask Leanne Bond to come to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and City Manager. This is not my forte, so. Whereas the National Association of Town Watch sponsors a national community building campaign on Tuesday, August 4th, 2026, entitled National Night Out. Whereas the National Night Out campaign provides an opportunity for neighbors in our city, in your city, to join over 38 million neighbors across 17,000 communities from all 50 states, U.S. territories, and military bases worldwide. And whereas National Night Out is an annual community building campaign that promotes strong police community partnerships and neighborhood camaraderie to make our neighborhood safer, more caring place to live and work. Whereas neighbors in Decatur, Illinois assist the local law enforcement agency through joint community building efforts and support National Night Out 2026 at Dansby Park from 5 to 8 p.m. for a time of fun, food, games, and giveaways. And whereas it is essential that all neighbors of Decatur, Illinois come to get together with police and work together to build a stronger, safer community. And now, therefore, I, Mayor Julie Moore Wolf, do hereby call upon all neighbors of the city of Decatur to join us along with the Coalition of Neighborhood Organizations, the National Night Out Committee, and the National Association of Town Watch in support of National Night Out on Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. Further, let it be resolved that I, Mayor Julie Moore Wolf, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, August 4th as National Night Out in Decatur, Illinois. Done at City Hall this 3rd day of August, 2026.
And if you'll bring that up, I'm happy to sign it.
Thank you.
And it really will be a fun time, so be sure and make it out. Next, we move on to appearance of citizens. Our policy relative to appearance of citizens is as follows. A 30-minute time period is provided for citizens to appear and express their views before the City Council. Each citizen speaking will be limited to one appearance of up to 3 minutes. No immediate response will be given by City Council or City staff members. Citizens are to give their documents, if any, to the police officer for distribution to the Council. When the mayor determines that all persons wishing to speak in accordance with this policy have done so, members of the City Council and key staff may make comments. If anyone would like to make a comment, please come to the podium. We just need your name, not your address or anything.
I'm Doris McKay. I'm here because I'm concerned that the summary of the report on the water cost analysis for the city of Decatur is at best self-serving and at worst misleading. The report certainly highlights this council's aptitude for signing contracts that fail to protect the resources and the rights of your constituents. Your constituents deserve to have access to fresh, clean air and water, and your responsibility is to them. If you have actually read the report, they suggest that while ADM isn't paying their fair share, that they're not costing us anything. I contend that if ADM weren't abusing our water, that there would be no need to have wells in DeWitt County, and that Decatur wouldn't have to build a pipeline from DeWitt County to Decatur to take water from the Mahomet Aquifer. Decatur is also piping water from Harristown. When we need water so much that we're stealing it from our neighbors in order to meet ADM's water needs, one has to wonder what we've come to. I also contend that there's something wrong with the system. The people and the businesses that use more water should pay more. In the report, they contend that since so much of the water that ADM uses isn't treated, that they shouldn't have to pay for the treatment of our water. At the last meeting, it was made perfectly clear that the reason the treatment costs are so high is because of ADM. So why shouldn't they be paying more? They are certainly reducing what's available to the rest of us and increasing our water treatment costs. Decatur has made the cost of water so cheap to ADM that they will gladly pay for the extra water at 36 cents per 1,000 gallons and pay the EPA's fines rather than fix their leaks. The system should protect the citizens and reward those that conserve and use resources wisely. You should be looking at ways to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McKay.
Hello, my name's Tim O'Connor. I'm from East Johns Hill neighborhood. Forgive me, I need a script. I'm a taxpayer who supports the community grant program and its support of my fellow Decatur residents. I'm angered by the lack of self-awareness shown by Ms. Gregory's comment last council meeting, and that this was your red line where you decide that you're going to defend the taxpayer. You said, once politicians begin selecting who gets funded, politics takes priority over merit. So currently we are subsidizing road repairs that have a lot to do with ADM industrial traffic. We subsidize ADM with you giving them the 99-year CCS lease for a trifle. We subsidize them when we pay for their health impacts to the environment. We subsidize them when their labor practices abuse our ADM-employed neighbors and their families. Apparently, we also subsidize their water bill. We subsidize this $89 billion revenue welfare queen far in excess of the $70,000 given to this grant program, which, in context, is less than the cost associated with the new Ford Explorer police interceptor. Your point regarding one-time grants, you could call them favors, becoming long-term commitments seems to have been the pattern you all have established with Archer Daniels Midland. So, since conflicts of interest are inherent to the grant program, but seeing how things are in practice, I gotta ask, how much ADM stock do you have, Ms. Gregory? Mr. McDaniel, I'm gonna suggest that the needs and mission of something like Good Samaritan Inn or MRI are different in kind than those of the Macon County Museum, and that your experience might not apply to organizations that touch their clients' lives in a much more personal way than a museum can, with all due respect. Also, from a historical perspective, how many companies have left us high and dry? Firestone, Wabash, Staley, Meta, Acorn, Wagner. Yet, still supporting industry at our expense is the path forward. We make our community, industry extracts from it. Finally, Mayor Moore-Wolf regarding City Council staying in its lane. City Council is not an arm of the EDC or Chamber of Commerce. Yes, we need to make sure that we have clean water, are safe. Can you see that what this council has done, favoring industry, is diametrically opposed to that? I'm happy to pay for city services that we all use. I'm happy to pay for the things which benefit my neighbors, even when it doesn't immediately appear to impact my life. I resent when all ADM has to do is say jobs, and we all acquiesce even though they treat a lot of their employees like crap. The $89 billion OSHA and EPA standards violator can pick up their own tab. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor.
Good evening, Mayor Wolf and City Council members. I'm Jim Hoyt. I'm here tonight representing ADM as their Director of Value Chain Development for Decarbonization. I wanted to take this opportunity tonight because I know water is a topic and wanted to share some insights with the council about water. ADM and the City of Decatur have long shared a strong partnership centered on protecting and sustaining Lake Decatur, a critical resource for both the community's drinking water supply and the region's economic vitality. Recognizing their mutual dependence on the lake, ADM has consistently collaborated with the city in significant investments to maintain and improve the long-term health and reliability. The partnership has included cost sharing for lake maintenance activities, ADM's purchase of the North Water Treatment Plant, and ADM's financial support as a key underwriter of the dredging project undertaken by the city in recent years to preserve water capacity and water quality. Together, the City of Decatur and ADM have demonstrated a shared commitment to responsible stewardship of Lake Decatur, ensuring that this essential resource continues to serve residents, businesses, and future generations. With that in mind, Decatur's story has always been one of people coming together to build something that lasts. Lake Decatur stands as one of the most important examples of that vision, and ADM is proud to be a part of that story. More than 4,000 of our colleagues work in Decatur every day. We care deeply about the long-term success of the community. We are proud of our partnership with the city and the investments we have made together here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hoyt.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Brown. I'm with Soy City Indivisible. We are the organization that hosted the Data Center Forum last week. We think it had a pretty good turnout. It wasn't hundreds. The library doesn't hold hundreds of individuals, but we did have a good turnout. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to address all the questions people had, but conversations happened in the parking lot afterwards. You have a lot of interest of citizens in data centers in your community. I think you need to hold more public forums. And also, I have a question. Is there or is there not an August 31st public combined meeting with the city and the council, or the city and the county, I'm sorry. Councilwoman Cruz has stated there is going to be one. However, it's not on the county or the city public meetings calendar, so I'd like that question answered. Also, I would like you to think about being transparent in this process you're going through. The more I learn about what's happening, the more I feel suspicious, and that's unfortunate. The Citizens Volunteer Advisory Committee, which was those individuals were invited by Kevin Greenfield, those are not truly citizens. At least half of them have a vested interest in data centers coming to our community. You have a lot of intelligent, thoughtful individuals who care about this topic and could be great benefit. And if you do things in the dark, which that CVAC committee is not public, is not foiable, so I urge you not to accept any of their recommendations. I urge you to create your own advisory committee that contains actual citizens and also is open to all citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Manager. I attended that meeting, and I got to say, that meeting was filled with lies and distortions. The very first thing that they said...
Could you please state your name for the record?
Brett Robertson. The very first thing they said was about you guys. They said, hey, these guys went off into the dark and passed the ADM 99-year lease. Well, anybody who attends the meetings know that y'all did it in the open and y'all voted for it in a public forum. So that was the first lie. And they went on to so many other distortions and lies. I made a list of them that I couldn't, in my 3 minutes, address all of them, but maybe I'll email you. The second thing I would say to Illinois People's Action is, if you want transparency, why don't you start with yourselves? Why don't you reveal who your number one funding source is? Well, I've traced it. It's George Soros. It's through a fund called the New Venture Fund. And I encourage all of you to do a little research on where the New Venture Fund is getting their money. And the number one grantee, and they admitted themselves, is a New Venture Fund. So why don't you guys, instead of accusing other people of being operating in the dark, why don't you apply that standard to yourselves and expose your own funding sources? So I'm pretty disgusted. I think most of those people have never been in a data center. I had the opportunity to go to several last weekend. I sent you my report. And North Texas is probably the epicenter of data center investment. There's hundreds going up, so it's easy to see examples. And I'll just leave you with this comment. They said, well, I hope y'all pass that moratorium, because that'll mean more jobs and investment for us. So good luck with that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson.
Good afternoon. I'm Ada Owens, Honorable Councilman members. I'm here representing Wabash Crossing. I am a resident of Wabash Crossing. Now, when Wabash was built, it was a project with the city also. Now, the people out there need your help. Not so much myself. I can move anytime, but some of these people cannot. So I think you need to be vigilant in trying to help not only the people, but the community. These are your people too, as poor as they are, as non-poor as they are. Need your help. Now, the center media, several years ago, I was questioning who takes care of the grass center. City told me it was Wabash's responsibility. Wabash tells me it's your responsibility. I don't know if any of you have drove down north MLK. It's almost up to your knees. Now, stop trying to hoodwink me. I'm one of the residents who is not afraid to speak out. I will not be afraid to speak out. But we are all citizens of Decatur. And this has to start at the top, Chicago. Folks out there working in the office, they're just guided by what Chicago tells them. So if we were partners then, we being the city, we ought to be partners now and get some work done out there. And I want to know, who can I FOIA with to get that original policy or contract with Wabash Crossing? Because, come on, people, these people live here too. Like I said, I don't have to live there. I moved there because I got tired of people saying, poor folks live out there, they're tearing up the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. I moved there. Well, I'm not rich, but I'm not poor either. So you all help me to do the right thing.
Thank you, Ms. Owens.
Seth Stedman. I stand before you draped in the garb of extravagance funded by George Soros, obviously. I remember coming to city council a couple years ago. I remember pleading with you and begging with you. Thank you. I remember coming to city council a year or two ago, and I remember begging with you and pleading with you because you guys were going to shut down Central Park overnight. And there were multiple people, especially with like mental problems, who were going there to like meet their sponsors and whatnot, and you guys shut it down anyway. And you guys made it an actual crime to be homeless out there after dark. So I'm flabbergasted at your lack of humanity for your neighbors, for your very own people. At this point, I feel like all I can do is help people understand who owns these businesses. And essentially, it's this voluntary county board or whatever. Basically, it's all the rich people that you guys are taking points from. We're going to boycott every one of those businesses until you guys figure it out how to pull your heads out of your asses. If you don't, and if you go through with the data center, I promise we're going to recall each and every one of you.
Thank you, Mr. Stedman.
Hello, I'm Diane Spaniel. I'm a citizen of Decatur. Mayor Wolf, I respectfully ask you why you're withholding information from members of the Decatur City Council and citizens of the city you supposedly love and respect and represent. Apparently, you've held private meetings on topics that include your best interests and campaign dollars, such as big business, and the best interests of the Economic Development Council. Then, amazingly, the city refuses to fulfill a Freedom of Information request for details of those conversations that are of prime importance and interest to voters and taxpayers and water users in Decatur. Just a few days before tonight's meeting, the city published the link to the public featuring a 23-page report on Decatur cost of services regarding water without explanation of most of the items in the report. I know I couldn't read it all and figure it out. Was there a study session with the council members on this? Were any real details of the report shared in public news reports? I didn't see anything on TV. I don't get the newspaper, but I listen to news and see a lot online. Please say yes, there will be explanations and discussions for tonight for citizens to understand why citizens pay more than their proportionate share of water costs and services. We know ADM purchased the North Water Treatment Plant, and now we need another treatment plant. With ADM's help with the cost of that, planning, design, building, construction, and jobs, maybe Decatur can make that work. How much of the water that goes through this new treatment plant will be directed to or process waste from ADM versus the citizens of Decatur? They're all questions that need answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Spaniel.
Hello, I'm Alan Wade. Good evening, Council and Mayor. I appreciate your time. Mayor Moore-Wolf, when we met a few months ago to discuss everything about the whole Broadwing agreement, one of the things that you had mentioned was that that agreement was only for realistically not stopping them from putting their plant in, didn't have anything to do with data centers. It was only for running sewage and water to that facility. Now, while that may be true in a vacuum, and it is, in reality, that by allowing that and setting that up, that is giving them the green light to build their facility there. And that is, I think, very clear to everyone that that's giving the green light for a data center. I think it's very well known that the general public pretty widely disagrees with data centers, and they don't want them here. As was brought up, there have been FOIA requests that have been denied, looking for information that has been communicated privately about potential data center agreements. I think it's a little bit ridiculous that that was denied, and those people that had those requests denied, I hope they go to the Attorney General about that, because there's no reason those should have been denied. This is not transparency whatsoever, and this type of crap is the reason that people feel their opinions don't matter. When things are backdoored like this and agreements are come to off the books, and then the city council voting is just purely a rubber stamp on things, what's the point in people voicing their opinions because they're voicing them too late? If these communications are well known beforehand, then people would be able to voice their opinions ahead of time, but then at that point, city council wouldn't be able to say, well, we didn't know the public's opinion. I would also like to reach out back there about the transparency comment. I think most of us here can walk and chew gum at the same time. It's possible to ask for transparency for two organizations. I think the public has been wanting a lot of transparency. The public is very against data centers. They're being used to mine and aggregate data about you and track you. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it is well known. And, without being public about what's going on ahead of time, people can't voice their opinions about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wade.
Good evening, Council. I'm still Ann Owens, and I'm glad to see that we have citizens here that are willing to come forward and speak up. Strangely enough, I have a little bit of an answer to Ada's question. So I think most of you know randomly I get called about random things I have since I was like 20 years old, people wanting help. So probably 15 years ago, I got a call from someone that was told to call me to see if I could find somebody to voluntarily mow the grass at Wabash Crossing because the owner they wanted it to be volunteer hours instead of somebody to pay. So I do not believe at that time, Ada, the city was responsible. I do believe the owner of Wabash was responsible because they did reach out trying to get somebody to voluntarily take over the landscaping. To my knowledge, that did not happen. But I also want to compliment Leanne Bond and the police, the fire department, the sheriff's department, all of the committee members. We worked very hard on National Night Out, which is tomorrow night. We expect to see a very good turnout. One of the most important things to me, which Leanne took very good knowledge of, was that we have trolley stops at the inner city and at different parks. So if you're not sure, you don't have a ride to get there, you can look on the Kono Facebook page. There is a schedule for when you can catch a trolley. Even like Neighborhood United is Garfield Park, Lincoln Park, Johns Hill. and you can come, and yes, the trolley will return you home. We're not going to make you stay with us at Dan's Bay. But we do certainly want to see a lot of citizens come. I also want to point out that citizens have the right to come here and speak at every council meeting. I also want to encourage the citizens that come here to please start going to the school board, to the county board, and speaking there. I know Mr. Cooper and I have had a lot of conversations about you guys take the heat for the property tax every time. People need to start going to all of the meetings. It would be a very good thing.
Thank you, Ms. Owen.
Good evening, Mrs. Mayor and City Council and our new city manager. You don't know me. Others here do. Mayor does by name. I'm Michael Hartwig. I was born in this city in 1947. Some would ask, were there a lot of buffalo around Macon County at that time? But no, there weren't. Went through school from Washington School to Eisenhower. Then I got my 5-year pen from Millikan University, back when they had an engineering program, which they have no more. What brings me tonight, other than I have a lot of things on my mind, but what brings me tonight was I picked up a copy of the paper yesterday, the Herald Review, which is I don't subscribe to. It's not worth the money nor the content most of the time. But there was an article in there about the problem we're having with young people coming downtown and doing donuts and stuff. And I said, is this a revelation? I've seen donuts all over town for 3 years. I happen to live in the West End, about 4 blocks south of you, Pat. And on my corner, it's a 4-way stop. But east-west, that stop for the residents is optional. Some slow down, some stop, some slow down, come through a little slow. Some don't even lift, right on through. The only time I've seen a police officer on that corner, he sat 10 feet from the corner. So guess what? Everybody could see him from both ways coming up the hill, so that did no good. The comment was made about the problem with the congregation of people downtown and all this stuff, and the comment was made Springfield has put an ordinance in, and it's a $10,000 fine, as I understand, for organizing that. And you responded, well, that's kind of hard to determine who the leader was. Well, how about when you have one of those situations come up, how about calling in just about all the cops that are in Decatur, go around the place, stop everybody, go in. If you have to get a court order, get a court order. Frisk everybody, search everybody's car. You think they keep doing that? When we find drugs in there, you find guns in there, illegal guns. I sell illegal guns because I'm a concealed carry person who can't bring my gun much any place anymore. You know, the criminals can. They did on Decatur Moves, but I can't. If you don't have that hammer in a toolbox, you can't use it. So I suggest you get it in the toolbox. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hartwig.
Good evening. My name is Robert Archer. I'm the chapter dad of the Jerome R. Gorin chapter of DeMolay. And back in March, we came and asked for a proclamation for DeMolay month, and we told you then that we were in running for chapter of the year. I have with me our newest member, Esquire, and our chapter sweetheart, to proudly let you know that we have brought the chapter of the year trophy home to Decatur. We beat out 29 other chapters and 2 chapters that are not fully formed, but they were still in the competition. So with the support that we've received from Decatur, we were able to grow. We brought in the membership sword. We were able to be extremely active, which is how we were able to bring this trophy home. And we would like to publicly thank you and ask for a photo op with the council after the meeting.
Great, and congratulations to you. I'm sure we're happy to stay around for a photo.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Abir Motian. It is so good to see you. I miss you all, and I miss the community. This message is for the entire Decatur City Council, for also Macon County board members, the leaders of America and the world, and President Trump, and past and present leaders. I am here presenting myself today because I went and picked up the petition to run as mayor, not to challenge anybody. I want us all candidates, to work not in competition, to work together in love, because we're supposed to be a community of love, and we want to stay a community of love. There's loving people out here, and, I want to be neutral and represent the people who believe and the people who don't believe, because the people who don't believe sometimes, they get off track not knowing things. So I want to be like, what if God was one of us, And so I wanted to get fair treatment and justice and no defamation towards me or something to put me down so that my name is not on the ballot, please. And I'm not saying this to put anybody down, but, I want fair treatment. And so I support the community. I am the community. I am the people. I feel with everybody. I know what people go through. I represent the young. I represent the old. I represent the dying. If I can extend people's lives, I will. I understand. I want people to know I understand. I feel with you. I know. And so I want to do my best and my very best, and I want to support safety, protection. I want to defend. And I want to bring in more defense into Decatur, Illinois, to have equal opportunities for all. Everyone has a right to work. Everyone has a right to get legal defense. We don't have that here in Decatur, Illinois. And so I want to empower the community, and I want to bring in also holistic clinics, holistic ways, more holistic natural eating in Decatur, Illinois. I want it more natural. Also, I'm still not canceling the idea of Knots Landing prison in Decatur, Illinois, to support, people. But my Knots Landing prison is not a prison to kill people. It's a prison to take people from all over the world and to have cable TV live inside the prison so people can see the prisoners, that they are safe and alive and treated fairly. So I want anybody who sees me, to come up to me so that they can sign my petition to support me. And I thank you very much for this time. And it was great seeing you, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Ms. Mote.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else wish to appear before council tonight? Okay, seeing none. As far as responding to some of the folks tonight, Ms. Owens, we are meeting with the owners of Wabash Crossing on a variety of issues and about the future, and trying to make sure that it is a safe and well-maintained facility for people to live in a better environment. So we are working on that. It's just these things take a little bit of time. So we are working on that. As far as, where I lost my place. Other comments from other people on council? Pat, did you?
I hope people quit getting their news from Facebook and that, especially when they don't put all the information. I hear it all the time. They don't read the newspapers. They don't come to council meetings, and they jump me about this, and it's not true. Quit. We have a council member that keeps putting things on Facebook, just enough to stir everybody up. And I've been coming to council meetings as a private citizen since, 2001. And I've never seen as destructive council member as we have on this council right now, that stirs up and it's not helping the community, and it's not helping the city or the council. But let's quit cutting down ADM. We've got a lot of industry in this town. We're lucky to have them. We don't bend over backwards. They have to follow the rules, whether it's ADM, Premium, Caterpillar. Everyone talks about our population declining. Yes, because we lost a lot of industry like many other communities around Illinois over the years. But you keep griping about them, they're going to leave. Then what are you going to do? Then you'll gripe to the council, we don't have any jobs. All these firms are creating jobs for us. They're investing in the companies that they run to be more efficient and hire new people. So quit coming down on all ADM and all these other companies. We're lucky to have them, just like the railroads. Everyone gripes about the railroads. If we didn't have the railroads in Decatur, we wouldn't have a Decatur. So come on, use some common sense. Nobody's perfect. Industry makes mistakes, but we're glad we have what we have, and I hope we keep them, because they can pick up and move elsewhere or not build any additional plants and buildings in Decatur.
I recall what I was going to discuss. The question about an August 31st meeting, council was asked to hold that date. We're seeing the committee from the county board, or that was asked to form a committee, is supposed to have a report in August, and we'd like to all hear that at once. It's not a city council meeting. It is not a county board meeting. I'm not sure what form it's going to take, but hopefully, lots of the governing bodies of Decatur will be able to hear things, as well as the citizens at the same time. So we are trying to explore, but it started with trying to get a date that could be agreed on, but we don't have any other information at this point. And to some questions about the water report, we received it last week in our packet. So we haven't been holding, behind closed doors meetings. It was a report that we're going to hear about momentarily, additional details, but we received it when we got notice of the meeting. So it's coming to us and coming to you, and so that's where that information came. Other response, Ms. Gregory.
Well, I just want to set the record straight. I don't own any stock at ADM. If we had to vote again tonight on grants, my vote would be the same, because I have heard from taxpayers that this is not how they want their property tax dollars redistributed. Folks, it's a form of socialism. It's a form of a welfare state. And that is not what I believe in, and that is not what our taxpayers want their dollars for. We heard 2 weeks ago that $70,000 was just the beginning. We have council members here that want to double that number, triple that number, I don't know, but that we should do it all over again next year. And I'm not going to do it. The vote is the same, and that's the way I believe, and that's the way the people that put me in this seat believe. Secondly, Brett, I want to say thank you for the document that you sent to us. I found it to be middle of the road, right? So you told us things that opposition, to some extent, are saying, but probably much stronger. And you told us, the pros of it as well. So I appreciate really a factual representation of what you saw. So thank you.
One other note to the question about FOIAs. We all respond when we are FOIA'd for documents, emails, et cetera, and that is turned back into the city clerk. And I don't know what determination is made for what is taken out of that, what's redacted, but I'm sure that all of us, when requested, do what is requested of us. If we don't have anything to give, like if they're just because somebody wants to know something, if the emails don't exist, they don't exist. And we don't have documents to give to respond to a FOIA. So it's not like if somebody wants some information and we don't have a report on that, or we don't have documents, we don't have anything to send in. So I don't know to what determines what goes out and what doesn't. There are things that have to be redacted occasionally, and that's not my purview to make up, but I turn my information in as do other members of council. So other comments? Mr. Horn?
Thank you, Mayor. Residents are justified to be concerned that the city of Decatur has and continues to be in private conversations about data centers. On July 7th of this year, I made an email request to city staff asking for correspondence regarding data centers that they had with the Macon County and Decatur Economic Development Corporation. They did not respond to that email. So on July 20th, I submitted a FOIA request for that information. I recently learned that that FOIA request had been denied, arguing that preliminary drafts, notes, recommendations, memoranda, and other records in which opinions are expressed or policies or action are formulated are exempt. However, in this case, the city of Decatur actually funds the EDC partially, and the EDC provides policy recommendations to the city of Decatur. And so the lack of transparency by the city is concerning, and it is contradictory to what residents do. And so I too appreciate Brett Robertson's email that he sent to the council with highlighting his visit that he had to a data center. And if you wanted to FOIA that information, you could. But suddenly you can't FOIA information about data center correspondence with the EDC. Now, I am confident that the city of Decatur is going to lose when I appeal its decision. It was the wrong decision, and it reflects a lack of transparency. And I'll just mention this and encourage our residents to continue to be vigilant. If we go back a few years ago to when we discussed the 99-year easement for CO2 sequestration under Lake Decatur, we got the packet on a Thursday, voted on a Monday. There was no ability to table that discussion. Now let's go back a few months ago to the decision for a development agreement with Broadwing, where we had standing room only here, we had overflow outside, and again, we couldn't even table the agreement. And so for folks that are concerned about data centers, for folks that are concerned that there's not information that's coming out, it seems to me that the same pattern is developing. And so I ask you to continue to remain vigilant here.
Ms. Gregory.
I want you to pay very close attention to what happened here. Sounded great, didn't it? But you need to back up to one of the things that he said, which is not quite the truth. The implication was that the city of Decatur funds the EDC. Everyone who is a member of the Economic Development Corporation, and it's been a long time since I looked at the members of the EDC, but I'm making assumption it's probably the top 10 employers plus many others in the city of Decatur that participate through their dues on the Economic Development Corporation. The city of Decatur is one of those members. Doesn't even hold a majority vote in it. So to simply say that we fund EDC is partially correct, but it's not 100% correct, and it's implying something totally different.
In fact, if memory serves, the city used to fund the EDC. It's either $200,000 a year or $250,000 a year. For the past probably 15 years, Pat, it's been $60,000, maybe longer than that, maybe 20 years ago. So reducing it greatly, but being able to participate, because when economic development is happening, when jobs are being recruited and companies come here, the city needs to be at the table because there are things that companies need, whether it is a water hookup or a sewer hookup or the ability to have an inlet to their business. So it is critical that we're a part of those conversations because sometimes they can't happen or shouldn't happen, and we need to figure out what alternatives there are. So it is very critical that we are actually at the table. So, any other comments before we move on? Seeing none, we need to look at approval of the minutes.
Approval of minutes of July 20th, 2026 City Council meeting. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman McDaniel.
Aye.
Councilman Horn.
Aye.
Councilman Cole.
Aye.
Councilman Cooper.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gregory.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cruz.
Aye.
Mayor Morewolf.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays.
Any unfinished business?
None.
Moving into new business, item 1, discussion item, the 2026 Water Cost of Service Study. Ms. Hahn?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. No opening comments from me. I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to Water Production Manager Robert Well.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Oh, thank you. That'd be nice. Yes, I'm relatively new to Decatur. I've lived here almost 5 years, and I've been in my position as Water Production Manager for 2 years. And I want to just say that I've been in water for a long time, and the point of my presentation is really just to say thank you to those who came before me, because they have put your water utility on a solid financial footing, and it makes it easy
Robert,
for me to manage.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you get a little bit closer to the microphone?
Okay. Sure.
Thank you.
I can. Is that better? Okay, we'll see. So, Decatur's been producing water for 156 years. And industry's been part of that from the beginning, from Hieronymus Mueller and then A.E. Staley, and now we have 2 large industrial customers that do use most of our water. We have 26,000 residential customers and about 3,000 other commercial customers. And we produced 7.2 billion gallons of water last year. It was a good year, and our revenues came in above budget. Now, I was in engineering before I was the water production manager, and I was working on the city's capital improvement program for water. And we had a kind of a lot coming down, like there was the lead service line replacement project, and then we had a lot of water mains to replace. And I thought, well, do we have enough money to fund all this? And in my media feed, I saw, the U.S. EPA is offering free technical assistance. So it was very easy to apply. I just sent an email and they said yes. And they hired some of the best in the business to do this for us at no cost. The U.S. Water Alliance is a national think tank that's really in the lead on all these issues. And then Raftellus is a nationally recognized utility management consultant. So, and there is a textbook to follow to do this kind of thing. It's published by the American Water Works Association. It's called Manual M1. It's water rates and financing. And so they follow that system. And first they figure out how much it costs to produce the water, and then they allocate costs out to users, and they look at what would be the appropriate rate design to recover the costs. So in our case, and this has been the case for a long time, we have what's called a declining block rate structure, in which the first block of water that you use costs the most, and then it goes down from there. The more water you use, the less you pay per unit of water. And that actually reflects the way the actual cost of the water, because to produce the first drop of water, you have to have a water plant. You have to have a pipe to get it there. You have to have somebody to collect the bills. And after, it actually does get less expensive to produce water the more you produce. So it's actually a decent rate structure. And it also serves to make the city of Decatur attractive to industries that use a lot of water. So it serves several purposes. At the same time that Raftellus was doing their study, the University of Illinois Chicago, fortunately, did a study of water rates throughout the whole state. And I happened to be on the advisory board for this study. And they did a kind of a Herculean task of comparing water rates for 595 utilities around the state. And they had to make, to be an apples-to-apples comparison, they had to make it a standardized water bill, 5,000 gallons of water plus all the other costs. And we ended up being right about the middle, a little bit below the middle in terms of what our water rate is, $43 as opposed to the median, which was $50. And I would say it's probably still the same now. Now, that's good. I always try to save money though, and I'd like to move a little lower down the curve if we could. And we're always looking for ways to be more efficient and being somewhat successful at that. I think I might have mentioned that we use 33% less energy to produce our water than a standard water treatment plant that treats surface water in Illinois. So we're doing pretty well. So Raftellus went through this process, and they added up our operation and maintenance, our debt service, and our capital funding. Now, the capital funding picture has actually been better than it was when I was sitting in that chair in engineering, because when we were able to get very favorable financing for our lead service line replacement and for our electrical replacement. Those are both coming out of the state revolving fund. And we've had good bids on jobs. So I'm not worried about having enough money for the capital program. So what they have to do to understand the cost of service is break out the categories of cost. Where does the water come from? What is the cost to treat it? How do you pump it out to the system? What about the pipes in the ground that run the whole area of the city of Decatur? The people that sit right below us and collect the bills. The people that go out and read the meters, and of course somebody like me that's the manager. And then this next part is less intuitive. The base rate is just what it costs on average to produce the water. And like many things, when you have to ramp up to go higher, it comes at a premium. So industry uses pretty much the same amount of water all year long. But the typical household, when they water their lawns in the summer, it'll double. So that peaking factor is higher for the typical residential customers. And so they allocated all those things out to our different customers. The residential and commercial are pretty similar in the usage patterns, and our two large industries are different. And what they found was that the residential and commercial customers are driving about 56% of the costs and generating about 53% of the revenues, whereas the two large industrial customers are driving about 44% of the costs and generating 47% of the revenues. Now, we feel that's within the margin of error. You know, none of these studies are perfect, none of these models are perfect, but that seems about right. And as I said, large users have a less of a peaking factor. Another thing is that the pipes that deliver water to their facilities are a very small fraction of our system. They're large pipes, but they tend not to be maintained or need to be repaired very often. You think of how large the city of Decatur is, and we've got pipes under pretty much every street that you don't see, but they're the ones that tend to break and need repairs and flushing and other things. And then, I can't read my own thing here. And of course, the industry, their billing is on autopilot, whereas everybody else, we always run into troubles where we have to talk to the customer service people. So the industry basically has zero customer service cost. And that's why, even though they use more water, they drive less costs, if that makes sense to folks. So in summary, I would say that we are on good, sound financial footing. We have the money to cover the cost of producing water. It was, I think, very, very favorable that the City Council adopted a CPI basis for adjusting the water rates each year. It's based on CPI with a minimum of 2.5% and a maximum of 5%. So that allows us to keep pace with things. I do think that the declining block rate structure works well for us, and that all of our customer classes are paying their fair share. That's what the data shows. But I'm glad to answer any questions.
Open it up for questions from council.
Well, I appreciate the presentation. When I used to sit out in that audience, I remember Councilman Legler would always say, we're not covering the cost of producing water. And it went on for years and years, about every year during budget time. And we ended up needing the dredging of the lake so we could increase the water capacity. And that's when we were kind of forced to have to raise rates. But from what I understand over the years, we had some of the lowest water rates of any city in central Illinois, if I'm correct.
I think we were second lowest in the state.
Well, that's even better. So, but anyway, I appreciate your presentation.
Other questions or comments, Ms. Gregory?
Thank you for your presentation. I've been here 12 years, and so your predecessor would tell us, the numbers change by 1 or 2% based on the year, the same thing. And so it's good that there is consistency in the reports. Reports that have been done by various companies throughout the year are consistently coming through within 1 or 2% of the same numbers. And so I think that's important to know.
Other comments? Mr. Horn?
Thank you, Mayor. After reading the water rate study, the first thing I said is, finally. It has been since 1997 since the last water rate study was done, and much has changed since that last rate study, including the dredging of Lake Decatur. And the study confirms and is discussed in the findings of the study that the current rate structure is not equitable as it pertains to supply costs. And Decatur should change its rate structure to a model that focuses more on supply costs, as it simply put does not equitably recover the costs, and the focus of future capital expenses is on increasing supply and processing. Specifically, the current model requires residents and small businesses to pay disproportionately more for water at a time where the largest user requested additional water supply in recent years and is paying disproportionately less. Furthermore, the city is currently considering major capital projects, including expansion of the treatment capacity of the South Water Treatment Plant and additional water supply, including a pipeline from the former Vulcan mine in Harristown. The largest of those supply-side discrepancies is with ADM Company, who uses 46% of the water as raw water. To give you a perspective on this discrepancy in supply costs, if 46% of overall Lake Decatur water consumption is ADM raw water consumption, and the city's supply-related costs are $12.3 million, ADM should be paying $5.7 million per year instead of $2.8 million that it currently pays. I would argue that this is essentially Decatur residents and small businesses that are subsidizing the city's supply-related water costs by $2.9 million. And with the city's recent development agreement with Broadwing and Fuyao's expansion announcement, there's going to be greater water supply demands from large users. And I would finally mention that I find disagreement with the report that was given to us that suggests that this report terminates in 2037. No worries. I also find fault with the report itself, which suggests that this agreement for raw water cannot be changed until 2037. If I look at the August 15th, 2022 agreement, it says for raw water, it says that notwithstanding any provision to the contrary, ADM's obligation to make any payments for lake improvements will terminate with its annual payment in 2037. In other words, under the current agreement, in 2037, ADM will actually pay less of an annual contribution for raw water, not more. And if you look at the agreement from 2014, Section 22 term, it states, this agreement shall have a term of 20 years commencing on the closing date of the acquisition by ADM of the city's North Plant. This agreement shall automatically renew for terms of 5 years unless either party gives written notice not less than 1 year prior to the expiration of the current term that the party does not desire the agreement to be renewed. So I guess this is a question to city staff because I asked this earlier today via email. Am I correct that essentially the city council, if it wants to go to a supply cost model, that essentially we figure out what the closing date is, and I do ask for the closing date for the city's North Plant, and then we, in 5-year increments, we are able to essentially ask for termination of the agreement so that we can renegotiate the terms of the raw water agreement. And so while I appreciate this argument about there's extra costs for residents because they have more pipes, things have changed when we dredge Lake Decatur. Things are changing as we ask for treatment plant expansion and more water supply. That water supply is not for residents. We have enough water. We have enough drought resiliency. This is industry supply that we're talking about. Thank you.
Councilman, I want to refresh your memory. The whole reason we have Lake Decatur is because of industry. A.E. Staley Manufacturing Company threatened to leave Decatur if we didn't have the lake. The lake was built because our forefathers had the foresight to say, this is a resource we can have to grow our community. And that is why Archer Daniels Midland came to town. It is one of the great economic development tools that we have, many other communities don't have. Water is a very precious resource, and we have the ability. I know you don't have a background or experience in economic development, but I've been doing it for 30 years. And water is a huge resource for us. Yes, it is important that we protect that resource, that we make sure it is a clean and safe drinking water for our citizens, but it is also how we improve the lives of our citizens, because the only way to get people out of poverty is to help them rise up, to get better jobs. We have this amazing resource to be able to bring jobs here to help our citizens lead better lives. If we just run industry off, it's like we were talking a little bit earlier. We lost a lot of industries in the late 70s, early 80s. They left. Globalization hurt us a great deal. We lost population. You're always talking about bringing population back. If we start losing industry because they don't grow here or they won't come here, how are we supposed to grow our population? Just people who show up, and that's not going to happen. They come for jobs, they stay for jobs. Our industries grow. They make decisions on where to grow their plants. And most of our companies have plants all over the world. They could be any place else but here. And so we have to protect our resource. And it's a little bit, too, when you start looking at buying in bulk versus buying, my household. Well, it's like going to Sam's or going to a convenience store. I'm going to pay more for a bottle of Diet Coke at a convenience store than if I buy it in a case at Sam's. So you just have to think bigger and think about the real way we grow this community and make it better for everyone. Ms. Gregory?
Thank you, Mayor. I can't agree with you more. I talked to you about consistency and about all that we have heard over my 12 years. The last 10 years, there's another consistent element, is that we have a council person that is consistently trying to be unfriendly and create an unfriendly business environment in Decatur. I talked about this before when the Illinois Manufacturers Association was here and Mark Densler, their CEO, was here, and how important major business is to the city of Decatur. When I was in grade school, I lived in Danville, and my best girlfriend, her father was the physician at the General Motors Central Foundry in Danville. And in 1995, GM closed. And they took 1,000 jobs back in 1995 out of the city of Danville. I would encourage any of you that are driving through Danville, stop just a minute and see what's there. Not a lot. And the reason there's not a lot there is because they lost their biggest industry. ADM was just at the podium during general remarks. They have 4,000 employees that live in the city of Decatur. That doesn't count thousands of other individuals that drive into Decatur, that buy gas in Decatur, that might stop at the grocery store before they go home and spend their dollars here. Councilman Horn, you have proven yourself to be unfriendly to business. If Premier goes, where will that put you, Councilwoman Cruz? So you need to stop and think that just because you want to drive up the water cost because you don't like this industry or you don't think they're paying what they should pay, you need to look just a little over towards Danville and see what happened.
Mr. McDaniel.
A couple facts. When Mayor Osborne was mayor, we lost out on a paper company because we could not supply the water. And that's really moved the council to, hey, we need to do something. Also, ADM has been giving how many years, an additional $1 million a year to maintain Lake Decatur. That was quite a few years. So that they were paying, they may not have been paying as much raw water, but they were putting in $1 million a year to help maintain Lake Decatur because it benefited them and it also benefited the city, the residents of this community.
Other comments? Councilwoman Cruz?
I just want to say, so the leadership that has been working under this ideology has existed for over a decade, but poverty has increased over that time. So this is not working to reduce poverty. I think we should let industry argue their point and elected officials work for the people. So we should be listening to, we can talk to industry and come up with a compromise, but elected officials should be advocating for people.
I am. I'm advocating that they have jobs and that we help secure those jobs and bring more here and have good jobs. Pat? Shemaikon?
Everyone's griping about the property taxes. Yes, it's Illinois. Everything's funded. If we didn't have the industry in this town, you know what your property taxes would be?
Any other comments? Mr. Horn?
I'd just like to follow up on Councilwoman Cruz's comments. You know, if you think about the economic development model that this city of Decatur has followed for at least a decade, and then you look at the results, our population has declined, our labor force is declining even faster, And as you mentioned, poverty rates are, in this case, nearly 20%. Our health outcomes are some of the worst in the state. And the traditional models that have been described by some of my colleagues just haven't worked. And so it is time for new models. And as it pertains to water, it's about supply cost equitability. And again, to the city manager, I just need the date, the closing date of the acquisition by ADM of the city's north plant, and I will take it from there. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the water report? Okay, thank you, Mr. Wild. Appreciate it. Moving on now to the city manager update.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At this time, I would like to go ahead and invite our new Deputy City Manager, Shamra Robinson, up to the podium to introduce herself to the community.
Good evening. I am Shamra Robinson Macklin, a native of Peoria, Illinois. I earned a bachelor, master, and PhD in business and leadership. I've worked 22 years in local municipal government in the areas of workforce, economic, and community development, and public transportation services. Within my last role, I oversaw the marketing and community engagement and customer service departments. From my transition from Peoria to Decatur, I must say that Decatur has been extremely welcoming, and I definitely appreciate it. Honorable Mayor Moore Wolf, members of the council, and City Manager Hahn, I want to thank you for the opportunity to work for the City of Decatur. I am so honored to have this amazing opportunity as the new Deputy City Manager serving Decatur, Illinois. I look forward to working alongside City Manager Hahn and our amazing and professional team, assisting with the plans and projects that make Decatur continue to positively stand out. Finally, I want to thank my husband, Stan Macklin. He is here this evening. Stan has been patient and supportive throughout my career. I thank my parents, James and Kathy Robinson, daughter Anadia, friends and family for their support. Thank you.
We're very excited to have you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Do have a couple other new hires to announce. We have Dalton Brownlow, Engineering Technician 1, and Trey Covey-Bullock, Engineering Technician 1, both in Public Works. And then we've got a couple promotions. Evan Hawking, Fire Lieutenant, Paul Heiger, Fire Captain, and Walter Will Denzeson, sorry, probably mispronounced that, Water Plant Operator 3. And then congratulations on a couple of retirements. Mike Doniker, police detective, retired after 28 years with the city. And Todd Zimmerman, fire captain, retired after 16 years with the fire department. So thank you for your service to both of them. And then once again, I know that we've talked about it a lot, but just want to make sure everybody has heard to come tomorrow, National Night Out, Tuesday, August 4th, 5 to 8 in Dansby Park. So hopefully we'll see everybody there.
And one more thing, we would like to offer our congratulations to City Manager Hahn, who has, after a very rigorous curriculum, has earned her certification as city manager. And the official title is?
A certified public manager.
Okay, well, congratulations. It was a long road, and we're very appreciative of the work you put in. And that brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone on council wish to remove any of the items for individual consideration? Seeing none?
Item A, ordinance rezoning properties from R3 Single Family Residence District in M2 Heavy Industrial District, 271 South 26th Street and 601 South 27th Street, and lot to the immediate west of 601 South 27th Street to a PD Plan Development District. Item B, resolution accepting the bid and authorizing the execution of a contract with Entler Excavating Co. Inc. for the Nelson Park Boat Ramp Improvement City Project 2026-42. And item C, resolution authorizing city manager to execute and enter into annual support and license agreement with Tyler Technologies, Inc. for municipal justice. I need a motion to approve the items as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman McDaniel.
Aye.
Councilman Horn.
Aye.
Councilman Kolb.
Aye.
Councilman Cooper.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gregory.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cruz.
Aye.
Mayor Moore Wolf.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays.
Moving into other business, a reminder for council to stick around for just a couple of minutes after we adjourn for a photo with the DeMolay folks and their huge trophy. Does anyone on council have other items to bring before the council? Councilman Cooper.
Just one follow-up question, Mayor. And you've indicated tonight that there's you're supposed to be a meeting going to be held with Wabash Crossing personnel.
No, we have been having ongoing conversations with the Wabash
So you've
Crossing
already
folks.
started
Yes.
them?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Councilwoman Cruz.
Could we have a list of all of the organizations that the city of Decatur belongs to and the cost of those membership fees or dues?
Anything else from council? Seeing none, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman McDaniel.
Aye.
Councilman Horn.
Aye.
Councilman Kolb.
Aye.
Councilman Cooper.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gregory.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cruz.
Aye.
Mayor Moore Wolf.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays.
If we could have the folks come down with this giant trophy, we would be happy to get a picture with you.